So, you know that life cannot withhold itself from you. All that life is and has is fully given to you to enjoy. The life of God is perfect and eternal. It is the essence of everything that is. Life is God's gift to you. It is always ready to manifest itself through you in its entire fullness. You are a self-choosing mind in the divinity that permeates everything. You're always in the midst of life, a life that lives eternally and lives through you now. Therefore, you need not be disturbed by the passage of time, the movement around you, nor the variations of your experience. There is something within you that remains unmovable, that always speaks directly to you, saying, "Be still and know that I am God." So this is an affirmative prayer for you to say, as we say it for yourself. Say consciously, "I draw upon the life that is mine now. I know that the fullness of life, which is divine in its origin, eternal in its presence, and forever available, is mine. The life of the eternal Spirit is my life. The infinite riches of its being are mine to enjoy. The vitality, the wisdom, and the peace of God are mine. I accept them in fullness, in joy, and in peace. My thought is a gateway to illumination. It is the secret place of the Most High within me. Therefore, I revel in the fullness of life this moment. I accept as a glorious experience a spiritual adventure." And so it is. And so it is. And so we want to talk about how can we make life a glorious adventure when it seems like there's so many things we can't do that we used to be able to do. And I know that's very variable amongst you, because many of you are going about your life as normal and nothing much has changed, and that's fantastic. And others feel really trapped and home and homebound, and are freaking out a little bit that they don't life is not as it was before. We were talking about why that is, because I have some friends that are definitely experiencing that, and it's the difference between how you identify yourself. Do you identify yourself as how you are with other people? For example, if you're used to being a performer or a leader or a helper or whatever, you have that role, and suddenly you don't have that role, you can fall into, well, I got all my feel-goods from being that. That I didn't know it, but that's what made me feel like life is normal and life was good. And now that I don't have that, I feel disconcerted. I feel like I don't have that feel-good coming to me from anywhere. Because we do experience it as a chemical in our brain. Dopamine is the feel-good chemical. I mean, we have several, but that's the reward one. And so if you're finding you're not getting that from without, hey, this is a wonderful opportunity to learn to find it from within anyway, because that's what you can count on. Always. You can't always count on those roles. They change over time.
Well, I think a conflict that shows up for a lot of us that in this particular time that we're not necessarily aware of having in the background is an old thing that I can remember having been asked long when I was growing up was, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be? What do you want to do? And I think the interesting thing is it's the wrong question. And when I say the wrong question, I think what would have been really helpful would have been to have asked the question, what do you want to experience rather than what do you want to be? And the be-do implication suggests that if you're not being something or doing something, you're not a something, you're a nothing. And I think we really get caught up in that in this particular time because we are so wired into, well, what have you done? What have you been doing? And who have you been being, really? And if you're not being anything, then what's wrong with you? I notice as a writer and as an artist, I go through this regularly because there's a part of me that says, if I'm not creating something today, then what good am I? What am I doing? And I realize I need to have time to collect, to gather, and to be, and everything in life that's coming through me will have its application when I decide that this is the right time. But I think we get lost in this, who am I supposed to be? I know women, I think, deal with this much more openly and honestly and powerfully than men often do when they get married. Because historically it has been, the man has his life and she joins him. And not as much anymore. But when she joins him, that means she gives up a lot of the things that she has normally been interested in or doing so that she can become his mate or his support. So her job is not to be herself. Her job is to be something for him. And I see and hear this a lot from couples, even though we know we're in another century where this isn't supposed to go on anymore. Where I see it happening is that I'll have a female friend who will have been a Democrat for the last 50 years, and within 2 weeks she's a Republican.
Of being in relationship with someone.
Yeah, and I think, and I'm not objecting to whichever one you want to be in. What's interesting is all of a sudden your values change, the music you listen to changes, everything changes. So what that person is doing is giving up what's true for them for someone else. And I think sometimes you give up what's true for you without even realizing that there were things that were true to you, that you were true to, that meant something. And it's only later when I do coaching that the person will say, I feel like I've lost my life. What do you mean? I don't know what happened. I'm in this wonderful relationship and everything is going well. I do whatever he wants. And I now watch his movies and I go golfing with him and I watch him golf and I do all the things I don't know why I'm not happy. So because you become invisible. But the question that precedes that is, what do I want to have as my experience? Not do I want to be or do. Because I will be and do whatever the environment requires very often, as opposed to what do I want to have happen here.
And particularly women, we were talking about this in our class that we're doing on Thursdays. Particularly women, we're not asked very much as young girls, what do you want to be when you grow up? I mean, we're all asked that as kids, but for girls, we really, what do you want to experience? It's just like, well, you're supposed to adapt to whatever happens, whoever you marry, wherever you happen, you are the supporter. You're supposed to make the family happy, make your spouse happy, be the homemaker. And so a lot of women feel like, I never got a sense there was any innate value in me besides what I could do for others. And if that is your experience, you have to discover what there is within you that is so of value. What do you desire? What do you like to do? What are your qualities? What is fun for you? Where do you want to live? All those are valid questions, and with this finding the adventure within, what we're talking about is spiritually going within. Spiritually going within, where all things are possible and where you are the creator of your experience. Now, I don't mean this minute, I mean the future one, the one that is to come. We're always creating our future experience, but we're generally unconscious about it. We tend to think, well, no, I just take life as it happens. No. You are the creator. That one line that I read, which is from Psalms, be still and know that I am God. That is your inner truth. That is that adventure within. When you go within as in meditation and say to yourself, be still and know that the great I am, just God, is you and is creating your life right here, right now. You are creating it just as God creates, through the vibration of your being, which is the vibration of all your beliefs, all your thoughts, all your feelings, all your expectations. It literally comes to meet you. So it's really, really incumbent upon you to say, what do I want to be or do or experience? And many of our people said, well, at this age, I wasn't thinking about creating anything. But you know what you want to experience. You know that you want to experience joy, peace, maybe adventure, love. I don't know. You have to name it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of you want to do dishes and vacuum and clean up the house. Get things good. So when I come home,
we did that yesterday. You have to do that to prepare for a possible hurricane, in case it blows everything around.
Yeah, right. Well, in case inspectors come in and say, before the hurricane, it looks like this house had already been hit by a hurricane. One of the striking things that I saw a while back on The Voice is a program we really enjoyed watching. The singer, the female singer, came on and they said, so what do you want to do? And she said, well, I've sung backup for, and she listed the people that she had sung backup for. And I mean, it was an extraordinary list of accomplished people. And she said, I no longer want to sing in the background. I want to sing in the foreground. I want to be the lead singer in my life, not the follow-up singer. Now, one of the things I thought about when I listened to her say that, because I listened to her sing and she was exquisite, was she never expressed any less energy in her song when she was singing backup than when she was singing forward. And we spend as much energy often backing up other people's goals for us or other people rather than for ourselves and for our own goals. And what that does is it creates a kind of wall between the creative possibility for you and the world in which you are living. And so when she declared she wanted to be a major first line singer, she got to qualify on The Voice, and it was the 4-chair turn. And I guess the question I would have for you is, are you doing what you want in your life for there to be a 4-chair turn in favor of you? Some of us aren't doing that because we're afraid nobody will turn their chair. Some of us aren't doing that because we just didn't know that we could ever be in a position of singing in a primary role, singing our dreams and singing our visions and singing our life. And so it's really any time is a time for you to take a step back and say, am I living my dream? Am I living into my dream? Or am I living into someone else's dream or someone else's expectation or someone else's idea of me? Because if you're doing that, the most astounding thing I have found is that it takes every bit as much energy and is quite a bit less pleasure. And what that stirs up within the background is an energetic field of resistance. If you're resisting your best because you're afraid or because you have never been asked or never asked yourself what it is that's your best, then you have a built-in resistance to your own good. And that's where the spiritual dimension is really important. Are you resisting your own good and then lamenting to the world that it's not happening for you? So the first step of manifestation for us in our lives would be, do I have a clear intention that I'm willing to be comfortable in state and stand in and be in? Or am I asking, what's everybody else need? And then later, after I figure out what that is, I'll try to be whatever you need, or I'll try to fit me in. Mm-hmm. And when Judith said yes to this ministry, it was before I said yes. We went together and we decided together, but she decided yes. She decided this would be something that she would put her intention into. And that's different
than...
Well,
I did that before the opportunity came.
Oh, yeah. Judith decided wherever that ministry was, it would find her or she would find it.
Yeah.
But the difference is I get to see her every day being in this ministry as opposed to, well, I guess I got to do ministry today. And there's a difference between being in it and being near it, or having it have you. The power really in your spiritual development is in your willingness to present yourself with your intention and the power of the universe supporting that, as opposed to, well, whatever you want, I'll do my very best.
Right. So I'd like to ask you, do you remember being a child? I remember sitting in school, looking out the window, because I didn't want to be in school. I wanted to be outside. And I would look at the lizards that were on the fence, and I'd be dreaming about can't wait till school is out and I want to go to the beach, or I'd rather be snorkeling or diving or something, and then you would get the wrath of the teacher. Stop daydreaming. Stop daydreaming. We want your attention.
What's
here.
wrong with you?
I know, what's wrong with you? And daydreaming is fun. You're thinking about what you want, what you would rather be doing, and it feels good. Well, that's what we're saying you need to do. And when you have that inner adventure, you go within and you imagine what it is, and it feels good. And so that's a lot of people will avoid the sitting down to meditate and whatnot, like it's something they're supposed to do. It's a job, another thing they have to do. Have to be at the right time, in the right space, in the right mood. And what I'm saying is, no, this is your fun time. This is the fun time. You get to daydream with your eyes closed, and nobody's going to pounce on you.
Which is very different than I was talking to someone recently about their meditation, and they said, well, what kind of meditation do you do?
Right.
And I said, I do this kind. Oh, well, you do that, and I do this kind. And then the kind they were doing was a superior kind to the kind that I was doing. And they were doing it right. And they'd always been doing it right because they had done everything in their entire life right. And I said, so how do you feel about your spiritual life? She said, I'm still working on it. I'm collecting it. I'm trying to get it right. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. So how about if you just meditate and have the meditation be daydreaming, intentional daydreaming, and watch what happens and get excited about the possibility rather than prescribing and then measuring. An idea that came to me just before we sat down, and I've always been an avid ping pong player. I love ping pong. And because I worked in mental health, you learn how to play ping pong. And all the floors that I worked on, the patients couldn't play the ping pong, the staff did, so we had tournaments and everything, and I got to be really good. In fact, I got so good that I would start a game with my left hand until the person got a couple of points, and I would switch to my right hand. And that usually would throw them off enough that I could win, because winning was important. And I noticed that about me, that the winning was important, the playing well was important, but I also noticed something else. My best playing was when I wasn't in a game, but I was volleying. And the volley is when you're just practicing, just playing, just having fun. And it took me a while to learn that I was a much better player when I was playing to have fun than when I was playing for points to win. If your meditation is playing points to win, if your spiritual development is to make sure that you're ahead of or that you're winning, you already have dealt yourself a losing hand, because winning is not a part of the practice of spirituality, nor is it really about the practice of ping pong. Now, the other thing I want to bring up is that metaphor, it stuck with me, that ping pong metaphor, was you can hit the ball as hard as you want. And if you get mad at your opponent, you can hit the ball so hard that it hits them, but you will not score a point. And so all during the game, what's important is that you know the power that you have and you use it thoughtfully. And when you use it thoughtfully, you can direct the ball wherever you want it to go with all the energy that you would like to have expressed. And so I could hit the ball very hard with a top spin and bring it down just over the net, slowly just over the net, or I could smash it hard and send it to the very corner. Being able to direct your spiritual growth is a skill that you will acquire because of the passion and practice that you give your meditative process. And that's an important piece, because a lot of people think that they'll be good at this because their heart's in it. And you will be good at it because your heart's in it, because you'll keep doing it. But how well you're able to do it and focus and direct yourself will have to do with the discipline that you allow yourself to engage in over a period of time.
And so I want to address how about when bad things happen to good people and creative people and people who are meditating and working on manifesting their dreams. And of course, bad is a label, because but I would say that most people say, here I was imagining what I wanted, and I certainly didn't imagine this, and I certainly didn't want to create that. But you know what? I know we don't enjoy those things, but I bet if I could ask each one of you about your greatest hardships in life, you would be able to tell me inner characteristics that manifested or that you were able to develop that you hadn't before. You would be able to tell me things you learned about yourself that you didn't know before. You developed a strength that you didn't have before. And you know what? You wanted that. You wanted that. You may not have wanted those circumstances. It may not have been fun, but you are here to grow and develop as a human being. You weren't born all finished. You were born as a spiritual being, but you're a spiritual being evolving as a human being. And so those things show up. And as the Buddhists say, you want to just not have any judgment and accept what is. And do develop those strengths and those skills, and do become stronger and smarter and more able and all of those things. And don't sit on a pity pot and whine about it, because you attracted that too, and for some reason. And so part of this is about being the creator, or we often say co-creator, meaning with God, with the power of God, you are creating your life and you're evolving and being. And isn't it an adventure? I mean, it is an adventure, isn't it? We can never be sure what's coming next, but you can determine how you're going to be in it.
Imagine that life actually were a ping pong game, though. And imagine that you said, I want to play the most extraordinary game. I want this to be the game of games. But I don't want to have to run to one end of the table to the other.
Or the tennis court.
I do not. We're going to stick with ping pong right now.
Okay.
I do not want to have you slam the ball, because I don't like that amount of aggression. And I don't want you to drop it just over the net and make me have to run like hell just to get to it. I want the game to go this way, and I want to play. If you said that to life, life would say, excuse me, apparently you don't want a ping pong game, you want to watch it on TV. You're not interested in actually being a player. You see, the problem when you sign up for the ping pong game is you sign up to be all over the place. You sign up to have at least as many misses as you do successes. You sign up for all of the things you need to learn that you haven't yet learned and you didn't even know you were going to have to learn. You thought you knew how to hold a paddle, you don't. You're going to have to learn that. And so I think if we were to look at that metaphor and say life is a ping pong game, but do I really want to play? The answer is not only do I want to play, but I am willing to be responsible for learning the moves. I'm willing to have the integrity of spirit to say yes, even when you drop the ball over the net and smile and laugh at me for having lost a point. I'm willing to say, aha, fantastic opportunity for me to learn. And so I'd like us to just use that metaphor during the week and ask yourself, is this my ping pong game or is this yours? And if it's mine, how will I be in it? How will I play it? How will I deal with my defeats and losses, and how will I enjoy my wins? And really, is it ever about winning and losing, really? Or is it about the experience that I'm having that I can't wait to have again?
And so, as we look at this adventure, we've been thinking, because we've been home a lot this week. Seems like more than usual, I don't know.
Yeah, it does.
And so we notice that we want to be connected with the world, and so we watch on TV what's happening there. We want to tune into the news for a little bit, see what's happening in the world. And I think that's all well and good. We want to see what's out there. But we don't want to get to the place where we go, God, this is boring. My life is so boring. I need to bust out. I need to be with other people. I urge you to call them, connect with them, text them, Zoom with them. Definitely, we don't want to become a recluse. And yet, if you start feeling like your life is boring, you go within to create that adventure within. It is, your spiritual peaks are the biggest peaks in your life. And nothing can really compare to that. So don't forget to go inside for that adventure, for that. We never know what's going to come. I mean, we spend part of the time imagining and creating, but part of the time just in connecting and being still. And that fills you up too. Mm-hmm. It's just part of knowing you're connected to all that is, and it's a loving, supportive essence. And you know what? We're connected with each other in that way too. Whether we can see each other or not, we're all one. We're all connected. And in silence, by going within, you can actually sense that, feel that, experience it, and be nourished by it. Be nourished by it. You don't have to actually do it physically.
What was the movie Tom Hanks was in where life is like a box of chocolates?
Oh, Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump, yeah. The reason that comes to mind also because we're talking about ping pong.
You never know what you're going to get.
You never know what you're going to get. But also, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to play a good game of ping pong. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to play a good meditation for yourself. And the most wonderful thing about that whole movie was what an exquisite winner he was when he was, in everybody else's mind, a loser. He just couldn't he couldn't even walk on his own, but he became a runner. He couldn't think on his own, but people wanted to hear his thoughts. He couldn't create something on his own, but he had his own shrimp boat. He lived a life of possibility because the impossibility of it never really occurred to him at the level that it did to other people.
Right.
I say that unfortunately many of us are living the life of our imagined impossibility rather than the imagined life of possibility.
Yes, I suspect a lot of you have been told often your faults. First of all, by caregivers and teachers, and probably not nearly as many of them told you your assets and your strengths. So that's now incumbent upon you to remind yourself of and tell yourself.
Next month, or September, my new book is going to be released, and I'm excited about it. And several people have tried to coach me on what I should do. One of the persons who coached me on, they said, now imagine everybody on the planet buying your book. Imagine it's being a really big success. And I thought about it. I thought, it doesn't feel right. And I thought, well, what do I really want to do? So I began imagining the joy people felt when they read it. The joy they felt that I felt when I wrote it. And I thought, when they get the heart of the book, it has no way to be anything less than a big seller. If what I'm about to do is to translate my heartfelt love of my life's experience into selling a book, I've actually reduced the consciousness of my intention. And it's important, so ask yourself what your intention is. What is it you want to have other people experience of you? Not how can I sell more of me than I've ever sold before, but how can I have more of me available to be experienced and to be enjoyed with?
And actually, we received a complimentary book and a letter from a psychologist who reads Bob's column in the Science of Mind magazine. And he wrote Bob a letter to tell him how much he appreciates Murphy's wisdom. And as both a psychologist and a dog lover, he just wanted to tell Bob how much the column means to him. He doesn't know there's a book coming out. But that was so validating to get a letter from a psychologist who's just written quite a dense book that the wisdom of Murphy means so much to him. So that was like a validation for your desire.
So how can you be in your heart, and how can you find the heart of your passion? How can you express that heart in everything that you do? And that's important. We're going to wrap up shortly. But before we do that, I want to mention to you, for those of you that don't already know this, we are cslpalmbeaches.org.
That's our website.
That's our website, and you get to donate if you want to help support this ministry and this ongoing conversation that we are seeing as having not only great value, but it's also growing. We're growing now and finding people all over the country that we never knew before and having them join our family, and we're delighted to have that happen. If you're able to support us, that would be wonderful. If you're not able to support us financially, you can support us emotionally and in heart by being a part of our family.
Thank you. What I wanted to say, because when you go to that website, there's a little, the buttons on top. One says more. You have to click on the more, and then it says ways to donate. And so you just click a donate button.
But just remember, we're not like PBS. You can't donate your old car. You can donate a partially used yacht, and that would be okay. Or lately, we've been thinking it would be nice if you want to donate a fairly nice motorhome. We would say yes to that too. Then we could do our cross-country trip. I love, Alex, that you've got your dog.
Oh, he's so cute.
Yeah, for those of you on Zoom, you get to see a beautiful little dog. For those of you not, join us on Zoom. We're going to end with a treatment, and I'd love if Judith would do the ending treatment.
Okay, all right. So let's go within to that place of all adventure, and let's know the truth, which is that each one of us is a magnificent expression of the divine. Each one of us is totally unique. No one has ever existed who is exactly like you, with your talents, with your abilities. And at the same time, we are one and connected with one another. We are never alone. We are always imbued with the power of God, the creative power of God. And so we give thanks for this gift of life, this ability to be here now in this incredible, crazy time, and choose to bring more light, more love, more beauty into it and into our own experience. We know we're able to do that by going to that adventure within, and we give great thanks for it. Together we say,
And so
so
it
it
is.
is.
Thank you.